Hey, Colin, you all right, mate?
Yeah, not bad. And you?
Yeah, no, I'm okay. It's been a little while since we've recorded one of these, couple of weeks. We had a
Good.
couple in the bag. Hasn't the world changed a little bit?
Oh no, nothing's been pretty quiet last few years, hasn't it?
It's just difficult to know what's coming up next, isn't it? We probably won't want to talk at length over what's happening in the Ukraine and stuff like that, but it just seems that the moment you get past one crisis, another one emerges.
I've never been quite so I've never felt that the crisis comes so close to home as well. I mean, we've seen many of these things happen before, and for some reason these days they affect you much more closely personally than they used to. I feel
Absolutely.
maybe it's social media. It's basically a good thing because it makes it far more real, and you don't just sit there reading reports and thinking, "Oh, that's a long way away." You do feel like it's at home. But on the other hand, it does. I heard the phrase "perma-crisis" the other day, and it kind of you feel like you're subscribing to a continual crisis at the moment. I really feel for the people right in the middle of it, but it just
I know it's awful
right now, doesn't it?
I guess it's also because for the last 20, 30 years, Europe particularly has been a much more open place. So we've all travelled more. We've seen places that perhaps weren't open to us 30 plus years ago, and these are places. These are places These are places you've been to. It's just extraordinary. I had the opportunity this morning. I reached out to the Ukrainian Patent Attorney Association because a number of members have been in touch with me over the last day or two to say they're quite interested in the government's program for hosting Ukrainian refugee families, and that if they were able to be the point of contact for the families of Ukrainian attorneys that were looking to sort of temporarily get to the UK, then they would be happy to be connected. So that's a good piece of work that we can do, but it would be nice not to be doing it, to be honest. It's a terrible, terrible situation. Should we do something upbeat?
How's your tortoise?
He's still in hibernation. I went down and checked on him this morning.
Don't blame him.
Oh yeah, I know. It's he just doesn't want to come out. It's still quite cold for him. So yeah, he's happy where he is. He doesn't know what's going on in the world. So best place to be.
It must be awful for tortoises. Almost every year they're going to wake up, catch up on the news, and he's going to say, Omicron, Ukraine.
I missed all of that.
That was lockdown.
Lee Davis and Gwilym Roberts are the Two IPs in a pod, and you are listening to a podcast on intellectual property, brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys.
Anyway, should we crack on with the podcast?
Yeah.
So today we've got Tim Parry from Patent Seekers with us. Tim, you're hiding in the shadows there. Introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing?
A lot of people probably know me from the SEPA attorneys. Well, anyway, my name is Tim Parry from Patent Seekers, the business and finance director, and I've been for the last almost 18 years now.
Is that it? Is that all you do?
Pretty much, yeah. Go to a few SEPA events and a few other.
I was going to say you pop up at SEPA events. Well, in the old days when we used to have them,
yeah,
you used to pop up at SEPA events.
Yeah, well, they just started back up now, fortunately. So it has been a strange couple of years of having gone from around about 30 events a year to 0 for 2 years, which was really strange to try and do some sales and marketing over the last 2 years. Has been quite challenging.
How have you done it? What have you been up to?
Mostly LinkedIn and collaborating with patent attorney firms, helping them to do some of their social media marketing, because we just assumed that they were in the same position as us, in that they couldn't do the networking with clients or going to the events that they would normally have gone to. So most of the customers of ours were trying to generate work through LinkedIn as well. So we pretty much just offered free support to them to either co-author articles or do podcasts together, or any sort of marketing webinars and things like that.
Have you managed to set foot outside of Wales, or have you been there all the time?
I've been outside of Wales a few times, ventured into England. So when we were allowed to cross the border, yeah. not just to visit pubs that were open on the other side.
No, as if you would do anything like that. Not least because you don't know what you're going to take back with you.
But we're actually going to our first event in Dublin next week, Dublin IP Summit. So that'll be nice to be able to actually get on a plane again.
Yeah, although I can't say I'm looking forward to that. I find the whole returning to travel thing quite nerve-wracking, really. I've forgotten how to do it.
Yeah, well, we've booked up to go to Bio this year, which is in June in San Diego, and we're going to Inter as well. So we've been a little bit cautious because we got caught out like a lot of companies did that had booked up to sponsor and exhibit at events prior to lockdown. That we lost bookings for hotels and flights and things like that. So that was a bit difficult, but now things are opening back up. It does seem to be more encouraging. It was nice to see a good turnout at the SEPA events that we have been to so far this year. People do seem to be really enthusiastic about getting back to normal.
Yeah. Should we let the audience know who patent seekers are and what they do? Who are you?
Yeah.
What do you do?
We're a patent and design research company. We've been around since January 2005. Me and my brother started the business. He's a former UK Patent Office examiner, and he's the technical director for patent seekers. It started in the back bedroom of my house in a small little box room with just a computer and a phone. And now we've got around about 40 researchers, all based in Newport, but all working from home at the moment since lockdown, which has worked out pretty well, actually better than we anticipated. So that's been okay, but we're trying to grow the business. So we're looking at investments at the moment to develop both the search in and the database that we've built. And now we're one of the largest IP research teams in Europe. And we work with around about 90% of UK patent attorney firms in some shape or form. And we work with lots of companies like Rolls-Royce and Airbus, Nissan, Sony, and companies like that, mainly doing freedom to operate and invalidity and patent mapping and landscaping type work.
So those are all fascinating areas and they're all scary. Most of the freedom to operate, I don't even want to talk about. I hate it too much.
Right.
It's a lie. You're never free to operate. You can never remove all the risk. I think it should be renamed. I'm sure if you get patent seekers, it's as close as you can get to being free to operate. Don't get me wrong, but I just think the nature of patents is so fuzzy. But I'm really interested in landscaping. I've kind of looked at it myself and talked to people about it. Do you want to talk us through that bit of the business? Because it sounds really sexy.
Yeah.
Do people like it? What do they get from it? What is it?
Yeah, it's more not coming from an IP background traditionally. I see it as being more business intelligence and competitive intelligence information. If you're identifying a technology area, who are the leading inventors within that area, who is actually competing with you in the world, which companies are maybe they can have small tech firms that are developing really good products. So they're key for potential licensing agreements or acquisition. Same with the leading inventors on patents are often headhunted using mapping and landscaping type work. They do, lots of companies sometimes get it confused with infringement. They'll do a mapping and a landscaping search and then say, well, you can use this for infringement. Well, that's not strictly true. Really, those should be treated completely separately because they are approached in a different way.
Do you see businesses? I think one of the benefits of landscaping for me is it kind of helps the IP department talk to the board. You know what I mean? It's because it's visual. I'm assuming you do heat maps and stuff like that. Is that what it looks like?
Yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah, quite often it is about producing the charts and graphs to illustrate a particular set of circumstances that an IP department or a R&D department want to describe to the board of directors.
Now, visual element kind of helps carry it across because my experience of explaining IP to boards, well, the word board is very relevant, put it that way. Before you know it, they're glazed over.
Tim, there will be some people listening to the podcast. We have an audience outside of the immediate world of patent attorneys. So there will be some people who just wouldn't have a clue, just the term searching, they wouldn't know what it means. So can you sort of describe what you do in the most basic terms? What is a search? What are we talking about?
Well, if you've come up with a new invention and you're looking to get a patent, often people will have what's called a pre-filing or a novelty search or a patentability search, all names for the same thing, to identify, is it worth taking that invention and getting a patent or applying for a patent on it. So that's something that we do quite regularly through patent attorneys for their clients, but sometimes to businesses direct as well. And then the freedom to operate, as William was mentioned, or sometimes called infringement search, is to identify in particular countries, are you likely to be attacked with any IP from that country? If you're looking to develop a product and sell into that particular country. And then we do something called invalidity or patent busting. So if a company is being sued for infringement, we'll identify predated information to try and invalidate completely, or at least weaken the patent that's being used to attack you with. And like I said, and then the patent, the landscaping and mapping type work we do to pretty much provide competitive intelligence information for clients to make strategic decisions on their own business.
And excuse me, just to get my head entirely around the business model, I think I know the answer to this, but let me ask anyway.
Yeah.
Do you do this exclusively for IP firms? So it's the IP firm that comes to you, they've already got the client, and you're working for the firm, so for the client, kind of by proxy, if you like. Or do you also offer this service commercially to people who just want to sort of find out some stuff before they even think about patenting something?
Yeah, both. We do both, but the majority of our work has just been done through patent attorneys. We do offer it to wider community, but the fact they need to have an attorney to analyze the results for them, it usually the search actually comes through a patent attorney usually.
Okie dokes, got it, I think, yeah.
Do you see that businesses always get that risk? I mean, if you've got a patent attorney advising you, then obviously we're there to kind of explain the bigger picture. But do you find that some businesses aren't too bothered about the risk, or do they have a look at the landscape or the search and suddenly realise there's issues there?
Yeah, we do. That's one of the reasons I think we try to guide people to go into a patent attorney first, to discuss what their situation is, because otherwise you do get companies coming to us not really understanding what they're asking for, obviously not really understanding their IP position or what type of search it is that they need to have in that particular instance. So we tend to guide certainly businesses or individuals either to the patent office if it's an individual inventor. We know that the patent office have an inventor pack that they provide information for individuals that think they've come up with a good idea. But if it's a business, we generally tend to guide them to a patent attorney with local to them.
It does make sense. And as you say, I mean, a number of times I've had to start a meeting making sure that the people I'm speaking to know what kind of search they want, because you'd think you do a patent search and that tells you everything you need to know, but of course invalidity and infringement are just so opposite in so many ways.
Yeah.
And if I could actually go on about your patent busting, that sounds really interesting. So I think the moment, I think you might see a nice uptick in business, Tim, I reckon.
Right.
One of the things I'm hearing about the new unitary patent and unified patent court is that it's going to be quite attractive to serial litigators.
Right.
Who, and they're going to get an injunction on 400 million people. It's a good go. It's a good gamble. So you see quite an uptick in I don't know if there's ever wanted IP litigation, but unwanted IP litigation, and that's going to require patent busting. So where do you look? I mean, obviously you look at old patents. What else? What other kind of things do you look at?
Yeah, we look at trade journals, lots of non-patent literature areas, as well as patent information to try and identify predated information. I think with the fact that there's so little time spent on the actual search part of getting a patent through the patent system, then it does obviously allow for the potential for the patent to be broken later on.
Yeah, I think that could be perfect. Can I give a war story, Lee?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
So years ago, unfortunately not using patency, because who knows, it could have gone better. But we were working on to try and validate some patents in relation to aeroplane, first-class aircraft seats.
Yeah.
And we did quite an imaginative search to find some stuff, because it was kind of one of those inventions that it looks like it should have been done before, but you couldn't find it in the literature.
Yeah.
We never quite found what we were looking for, but some of the stuff we turned up, and the coolest thing by a long way was a thing called the Tiger Lounge. I think it was offered by Pan Am possibly on some of their 1970s jumbo jets.
Yeah.
And, you know, the pod at the top of the old jumbo jets. They just turned the whole thing into animal print bar in the middle and everything, and it was called the Tiger Lounge. And no use at all to us from validating the patent, but what a great piece of history.
So Tim, this sounds like a huge amount of work. You guys appeared on the scene in, I think, 2005. You said.
Yeah.
What was happening before you came along? Who was doing it then?
There was a few smaller companies that have been around for a long time. We came in just at the beginning, really, of the everything going online, all the searching going online. Because when we started, there were still competitors offering paper-based searching at the IPO or the British Library. So we come in just at the right time, really, to sort of make quite a big, bold impact on that industry.
Presumably, you're not the only one still in the market. You've got competitors, yeah?
Yeah. But there's been a huge number of Indian competitors have started up, certainly over the last 10 years. Probably a new one every other week. So we do see a lot of those, and we know that patent attorneys get a lot of spam through from those companies, as we do, because they think we're a patent attorney firm because we got the word patent in our title.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I probably get half a dozen LinkedIn requests a week,
yes.
And I've started to ignore them now or decline them. But in sort of as recently as just a few weeks back, I was still accepting them if they look legitimate. And then the first thing you get is then a sort of like an automated message saying that they're a searching company. And it's just like, how many of them are there? They're coming on the market. What keeps you on top then? What's your competitive advantage without giving away any trade secrets?
I think this more than anything else, it's been the response time and the quality of search and consistency of searching that we provide. So we've been quite fortunate in that we've managed to build patent seekers predominantly through word of mouth, with patent attorneys recommending us to their colleagues. So we've got away with just having me as being the sales team pretty much for patent seekers for the last 15 years. Yeah, it's been pretty much our unique selling point has been that turnaround time on quotes, turnaround time on the searching, and maintaining the quality of the searching.
I mean, we laughed about it a little bit at the start, but in my experience of CEPA events, sort of from the moment I joined, you were always this bloke standing in the corner with his banner, always, every regional event. Yeah, there you were. And I used to think to myself, it seems like a lot of work because you must know these people already, but you still keep coming back. So there's still needs to maintain that degree of networking.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference is that we don't do a lot of marketing. We don't do any email marketing really. So we obviously realize that lots of the other competitors are spamming everybody with emails, and quite a lot of the patent attorneys complained about the fact that they were getting so much email marketing from those companies. And it was quite a nice way of just presenting the company and sponsoring all of CEPA by going to and attending every single event. So I just wanted to be the face of patent seekers and get to know people on a less pushy, sales focused way.
Yeah. And is it very UK focused, or have you started to spread your wings internationally?
We opened an office in Toronto in Canada in 2018. That has struggled a little bit through COVID because they've had so many lockdowns in Canada. That has been quite difficult for the poor sales guy we got there. Looked gradually worse on every Zoom meeting that I saw him on as the lockdowns went on. But thankfully, things are opening up there now as well. So we're gradually starting to get a bit of traction in North America, which is great.
Well, you work in San Diego and Inter as well, aren't you? So I guess you're right. And it's the same sort of strategy there. You've basically got a stall and.
A little bit of a mixture, really. We were having exhibition stands at a lot of events, and we gradually realised that sometimes it's easier just to have a drinks reception, invite patent attorneys that we know in the US and in Canada, and the ones that we know in the UK, and just let them network together.
And what's the competition like in the States? Generally a competitive place.
Yeah, it's very difficult at the lower end. So we don't really try to compete with the companies that are doing a lot of patentability searches. We tend to go for the premium, large scale, freedom to operate and invalidity type work.
What's your free gift? Sorry, Lee.
Go on, Karen.
What's the free gift? Well, it's usually a bottle of Welsh whiskey.
Oh, you did the raffle, don't you? Remember
that? Yeah.
Still not managed to win one yet.
Or Hotel chocolate, which seems to go down very well as well.
Some of the things I've had off those stalls are Rubik's cubes and squeeze balls, and actually quite useful. I got an insulated cup. That was a good one.
Well, now you are a new father again. Of course, you'll have a lot of need for little gadgety toys and things to occupy young children. So
yeah, all people, come on over.
Yes.
I was going to ask Tim a question, but it's entirely gone out of my head.
That's not a problem. I was actually, while you're thinking about it, Tim, it sounds like you've grown, brilliant news. The competition obviously is growing. That's a good sign of success as well. Are you seeing kind of any trends in the market? Are you seeing people start to focus on technology areas or certain services that you offer?
Yeah, well, we've seen an increase in biotech searching since COVID. So we had about 3 months where it went very quiet after the first lockdown, with everybody being sent home from work. But since then, things have picked back up quite considerably. We're now recruiting around about 5-6 new searchers. So we're looking for people in different technology areas, for bio, chem, and phys mech technology fields. Try and grow our search teams. Yeah, we're seeing a big expansion in the biotech fields in particular. That's cool.
So you got your landscaping service, your freedom to operate, your patentability. Yeah. Are you seeing any change in the emphasis between those, or are they all vying equally for kind of attention with the client?
No, they've stayed pretty much the same. So patentability is probably the one that is dropping off a little bit, where I think companies are starting to get to do some of their own searching. And that's why we developed PatWorld, partly because we wanted to allow certain organizations to be able to do basic searching themselves. So the things that we don't really make a lot of money on, like the patentability searches, I think with the right type of product as a search tool, they could probably do a pretty good job themselves of, having a look before going to the patent attorney and then taking some information with them. So at least they've had a look at the actual technology field that they're working in and got an idea of what is currently out there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I hear a lot, especially from companies with a US connection. They're not that keen on doing patentability searches, especially to the extent that they reveal patents, patents, because of course that gives you constructive knowledge of them, which in turn means that you then potentially have to do an infringement opinion to show that you're not willfully infringing to avoid treble damage and things. So I can see why that's not attractive. I mean, I have to say that quite often I'm probably getting loads of hate mail now, Lee, from patent attorneys. I often actually advise clients not to go mad on the prior art searching, on the basis that I've never known a patent attorney yet, I've never known a client do a prior art search and then not do what they were going to do anyway. They still do it. So it's just and the patent office is going to do it anyway. And that's actually my most compelling reason not to do it usually. But yeah, I mean, I think FTO, freedom to operate, it just feels like a growth area for me, doesn't it? I mean, people are becoming more aware of the risk, and the risk is huge, actually. If you can walk into an injunction, it's pretty painful.
Yeah. So come on, I think I know what freedom to operate is, but I'm the sort of innocent bystander on all of this. What is freedom to operate? What does that mean?
Did you want to pick that one up, William?
No, I'm not. You're the guest.
You're the guest. You're here to work your crust, mate. Come on.
Well, freedom to operate is just having a quick a sweep of a particular country to identify, are you likely to be infringing any patents that are in force within that country?
And can I depend on that? Is that something that is it sort of a
No.
no? Yeah.
I came a bit deep a bit early with my comment at the beginning. I when I'm advising on that, I call it risk management because it's how long it's a piece of string, isn't it, Tim? There's always more if you go looking.
Yeah, but it's about showing due diligence that you've at least attempted to look, rather than just blindly going into that country without even taking consideration of somebody else's IP that might be there.
Gotcha. So
another water, I remember advising a client, they had a very successful kind of high street product in the UK that was, we knew there was a lot of patents out there, and they wanted to go to America.
Yeah.
And it was quite a difficult conversation about all the risks and all the difficulties of searching and all, what happens in litigation and how difficult litigation is if it kicks off and all the risks of crazy damages and everything. But they had a very perceptive CEO who kind of listened for a while, and he said, so basically what he's saying is we should treat there as being $1 million barrier to entry.
Yeah.
We might get sued, and it might cost us about $1 million. Okay, we can afford that, we're going ahead. Really, didn't stop looking at the risks. That was actually the most straightforward assessment of the situation, that the market would kind of pay for that kind of thing. He still had to go on a bit more about the risk, but I thought that was a really good way of looking at it in that particular circumstance. It's management of the risk, not removal of the risk.
Hey Tim, we touched a little bit on COVID, and then we drifted away from it, and that was going to be my question, Gwilym. I've now remembered the question I was going to ask about 7 or 8 minutes ago. So 2 parts, really, I guess. You talked a little bit about the impact on the firm. So
yeah,
you've said what happened there, but I know, did that mean people sort of working remotely? What's that meant for your future sort of office environment? And also, what trends did you see in sort of patent searching? You said a little bit about the life sciences side of things, but there must have been some other movement as well.
Yeah, well, with regards to the company itself, there were a few of our staff asking around about November, December, prior to lockdown, is it possible to have more flexible working arrangements and working from home part of the week? And we said, no, you can't do that, because everybody works in teams on projects. And then obviously come March, everybody was forced to work from home. And we were concerned initially, but the PatWorld database that we developed has got collaboration and sharing built within it. And that's facilitated home working really well. So it hasn't been such a big pain point as me and my brother thought it would be initially. It's actually worked quite well, and efficiency has gone up in the last 2 years, so, which we're delighted about. In terms of the trends, there was quite a few projects that were in the pipeline that just stopped and never come back for one reason or another. Maybe the companies have gone bust. Often we only see the attorney's information. We don't know who the end customer is, so we don't necessarily know the full detail of what's happened to that particular client. But there's been quite a big upsurge in biotech and e-cigarette work. So that's been keeping us busy.
E-cigarettes specifically. I'm sat here now thinking, why e-cigarettes?
Yeah, I don't know why that's unless it's just expanding into.
Did lockdown make a lot of people take up pseudo smoking who weren't smoking before?
Yeah, or want to give up smoking perhaps, and using that as a tool for it.
I'm missing a really interesting patent landscape. The IPO they had on their website for a while, kind of promoting that service generally.
Yeah,
and their one was about shavers, razors, safety razors to be exact.
Yeah,
and one of the really interesting insights was one of the things they had there was not only where the activity is in terms of improvements to the materials, to the blade shapes, I don't know, to the hinges, whatever.
Yeah,
They also had stuff that was off patent. And that's a really interesting one, because you think, well, that's 20-year-old technology, but there's been a lot of development. There's some probably really good 20-year-old razors. And so one of the really strange benefit was actually, it said this is actually a pretty safe thing to do from an infringement perspective, is to look at really old stuff that's come off patent but still might have some relevance. So it's what you can do with that data, actually.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking about my dad, who shaves with this ridiculous 50-year-old razor he got from his granddad that kind of screws together, and it's got the old double-edged blade thing going in it and everything.
I was thinking, Tim, about, so you're down in Newport, and your brother was a patent examiner, so you've got that. I've just been watching the Expendables movie with Sylvester Stallone. You know the one that's got all action heroes in?
Yeah.
Look at that, Lee?
No idea what you're talking about.
Oh, they're awesome. It's the three. One's terrible. No one should ever watch three, and I watched them back to back.
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bruce Willis, all kind of 80s action stars, getting back together for one last big adventure. Is that what it's like at Patent Seekers? If you got all the old hard men and women of the IPO joining you for one?
No, actually, but most of our staff are quite young, young compared to me and Dean anyway. Yeah, so the IP managers and senior IP managers have been with us for 10, 12 years, but they've joined us from university and grown up in the business. So they've grown with Patent Seekers, which is great.
Oh, so you do a lot of training in-house then?
Yeah, almost all exclusively the training is done in-house. So we tried to develop a system of our own to train all our staff in the same way, so that to provide that sort of level of consistency across all of the searching, so you don't get people coming in that have maybe picked up bad habits from somewhere else.
Because Lee, that's one that I was impressed with searches, is their knowledge of the patent classification system. It's quite unbelievable to watch. You say, back to razors, I'm interested in razors, and say, well, I think you'll find under the European classification system, it'll be this code, and this national system, the US is this, that. You just watch them in awe as they kind of roll out all this information.
I just don't know where to go next, mate. I don't know where to go next.
Is it me? Sorry. I keep going in different directions. I apologise.
I did have a plan, but you keep distracting me.
I can talk a bit more about it. I'll tell you the war story then about the international classification system.
Go on then.
Really good serial inventor, and he came to me with always really good ideas that never quite worked for practical reasons. But one of them was a variable speed walkway. You know, this pedestrian walkway.
Yeah.
One of the big problems is that they obviously all have to go at the same speed, and they'll snap. So you can't. What you like is when he gets on slowly, it gets really fast in the middle, and then slows down at the end. And he came up with a way of doing it and said, oh, I think I've got a new invention here. And I got really excited, thinking, oh, no one's ever faced this problem before. There's an entire classification code heading for that concept. It just kind of took all the fun out of that one.
I'm struggling to even see how that would work, because surely when you get to the middle, someone else is getting on at the beginning, and my brain can't even go there.
I read a science fiction book which had a solution, actually, which had a whole rack of them, and the ones on the outside were going slowly, and then you could walk towards the middle, and the middle one was going super, super fast, and each one speeded up a little bit from left to right, or whatever. That was quite cool. I feel like I'm going off topic here, though.
You've gone massively off topic. Tim, is there anything we've not asked you that you were expecting to talk about? Let's go there.
Only Pat World, which is our
do you know what?
Commercial database.
That was the other question that I forgot. I was going to ask you, what's Pat World?
Yes. Well, we've been using commercial databases for the last 15 years. So we've actually bought access to competitors' databases, pretty much got a good idea of what's good and what's not so good about all of the other databases. And we wanted to develop something of our own, which was easier to use and more accessible for companies. To date, you could only have access to a commercial database if you were going to pay an annual subscription, and a pretty hefty one up front. So we've provided a database that has the same coverage. It's got a collaboration platform, so you can share the data with both your attorney and with colleagues, or simultaneously work on the same project together. But you can access it just for a single day if you wanted to.
Okay.
For £25. So it means that it's open to a much wider potential audience than any other database.
And so is that the sort of thing that would also appeal to academics then? Is that, you must have a mine of information for the academic world?
Obviously, there's lots of companies that are still using the free databases like Espasnet, but what they don't realize is that Espasnet doesn't really give you coverage of agent data. You can't really search the agent data on there effectively, which accounts for about 60% of all worldwide patent applications now. So it's quite a hefty chunk of information that you're missing if you're just using the free databases. Whereas our database has got all of the agent data translated and searchable in English.
So who does that translation for you?
We actually buy the data already translated
Okay.
from a Chinese company.
Oh, you don't have a massive sort of translation service as well then?
No, we've got a translation tool on the database to allow you to translate individual documents into multiple languages if you wanted to. But yeah, it's a platform which we've been using as our main platform now, to providing around about 5,000 to 6,000 searches off. So we've tried and tested it to destruction in-house before launching it, and it was developed by our experienced researchers in terms of the design and the look of it. So we wanted it to be more user-friendly than the existing commercial databases as well. So there's some nice tools on there that allow you to do a small sort of AI supported searches to help you identify documents really, really quickly.
Fantastic. I might have a little play around myself.
I give you free access if you like.
Oh, cheers, mate. Gwilym, I'll get you a login.
Nice one.
Tim, it's been lovely having you on. Thank you so much for sparing some time with us. It'd be great to see you in the real world again. I don't know if you're at future super events. I can't get to the next couple, so even if you are, I'm probably not going to catch up with you there.
I should be at Cambridge.
Yeah, I can't make it. And by the time the podcast goes out, Cambridge would have been and gone anyway. So I guess that's the sort of world we work in.
Yeah.
Gwilym, I just couldn't go without saying to you, how is fatherhood treating you?
I won't deny that I'm a little tired. I'm coasting a lot on caffeine at the moment.
I mean, I became a dad second time around in my early 40s, I think, probably. Hang on. Yeah, something like that. Maybe 39.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what it must be like when you're in your late 50s.
That's not necessary. I'm a very, very, very young. It's a little tiring. I've forgotten. I hadn't forgotten. I knew about the sleepless nights. I just forgot how awful it is all day afterwards. That's why I've forgotten the follow on. Do you know what? The reason I'm always really excited about getting back into this is because of how much I enjoyed it last time, and I'm definitely back in the game and loving every minute. I'd forgotten how much fun it is. Or rather, I knew it was fun, but I've forgotten just how much fun. So it's tiring, but it's so worth it,
Yeah, maybe I'll finish my little children's story. So something I was thinking about last night, I get quite emotional. So it was christening Sunday for one of the grandchildren. I've got 5 grandchildren now, little girl and 4 boys. And they're all bar the tiniest one, who's just 3 months old. Number 4 has just started talking. And the first word he said, which was a couple of weeks ago, was granddad. So, which is quite unusual, isn't it? Because normally it's dad first or something like that. But his mum and dad were quite surprised when he said it. I came around and do a little bit of DIY for number 2 son, and Theo looked at me and he went, "Granddad," and it was like, and I'll tell you what, that's my new favourite word. I dreaded being called granddad. I spent a long time waiting for the first one to come along, thinking, "Oh God, I don't want to be a granddad." Now, every time I hear that word, I just melt. Anyway, thanks so much for spending some time with us. I'll see you on the next one, mate.
See you soon. Cheers, Tim.
Bye.
Thanks very much. Okay, bye.